Mike. There we go, Mike. Hey, it's working. And good afternoon, and welcome back. Hang on, my camera's now. Got that. It's just the universe. Anyway, welcome back, my friends. Welcome back. Lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much for turning up for this, the first ever, or possibly in a very, very long time, Frontier First Encounters Twitch stream. I have no idea whether we will achieve the same level of greatness that we did with Frontier Elite 2 by becoming the #1 Frontier First Encounters Twitch stream on the internet, but we've got a good chance because I'm pretty sure nobody else is doing this anymore. We shall have to wait and see. But anyway, lovely to see you all. Thank you very much. Lots of friendly names on here from retro days of yore. So welcome one and all. It's always good to see you on a Saturday afternoon. So fantastic stuff. I see a few of you have had the COVID vaccine, which of course is dating you because only us old folk are getting it. And some of you haven't. Now, I have actually got. Now, this is just a word of warning. I have actually got the vaccine. My first vaccination booked next Thursday afternoon, and I have been warned that there's a chance that I may react to it because I did have COVID over Christmas, as some of you remember. So, fingers crossed. I certainly plan on being absolutely fine. But just in case I'm not, just a warning. I will obviously let anybody know if there's going to be an interruption to the streaming schedule. But it's just kind of a heads up that I might not be able to make next Saturday, depending on how Thursday goes. But there we are. So there we go. Never mind. I'm hoping to be absolutely fine. I'm not usually ill, to be honest. Although COVID did knock me out for a few days when I actually got it. More early on actually than later on, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to better Wi-Fi and 5G reception. That's for sure. And I think Microsoft downloads come down quicker, don't they? Microsoft updates are faster once you've had the COVID vaccine. I think that's true. But there we are. We'll see. But anyway, so here we are with the Frontier First Encounters, and that well, not quite so exciting intro sequence. What I'm going to do is, as you probably noticed, and it's definitely original because I've checked, is that the music doesn't sync with the action at all. Like the far better, in my humble opinion, Frontier Elite 2 intro sequence, which is almost legendary. In kind of 16-bit old computer game circles. That intro sequence for Frontier First Encounters is pales by comparison. There's quite a lot of exciting stuff going on there. There's Thargoid, what we assume is a Thargoid chip. Of course, it is an 8-sided thing with green lasers, so what else is it going to be? And it's got a big ship flying past a gas giant, and there's police ships getting blown up by mines, and all sorts of stuff. But I know somebody said on the comments as I was watching it, it lacks something. It definitely lacks something. The music doesn't sync with the action at all. So whoever did the animation didn't work with the music, or the music wasn't available, or the music was built separately to the animation. So that's not good. The music's okay. Somebody mentioned sort of got a Battlestar Galactica vibe. It has, because Battlestar Galactica is dun 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 dun, whereas this is bum 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 bum. So it's kind of, it's all. If you know anything about music, it's all fifths. It's all major fifths. All of those theme tunes. I mean, if you look back on all of the space themes from the 80s, they're all major fifths. I mean, it's Star Wars is major fifths, Battlestar Galactica is major fifths, Airwolf is major fifths. Knight Rider isn't actually. That one's different. Blue Thunder was major fifths. Major fifths were a thing. So. And the music, I mean, it's by Dave Lowe, so we can't dismiss the Dave Lowe because he gave us permission last week to play that other version. But Street Hawk, I'm just trying to remember how the theme tune for Street Hawk goes. That's Tangerine Dream, isn't it? So I don't think Tangerine Dream is fifths. I think that's actually a bit more sophisticated. But that whole Star Wars that's all major fifths, Major fifths really date you to 80s science fiction and action movie stuff. And I love them. I love major fifths. So there we go. But no, so the music, but dare I say it, Mr. Dave Lowe, the music for this game isn't as good. It's not as impressive, and it doesn't sync that. And the music stops halfway through the intro sequence, and then there's a bit of a pause, and it sort of restarts again. But when you get to the end of the intro sequence, the music is only just beginning into its sort of third bit. So it's not as well done. It isn't as well done. Some of it was Dave Lowe, but other was in-house. So yeah, so I don't know. Surely major fifths have been promoted by now. Yeah, there should, it should be admiral fifths by this point. So anyway, so we're gonna give this a go. I don't think this is going to be a 15 episode extravaganza like Frontier Elite 2 was, but we need to pay homage to it because it's the next step along. Now, but before we kind of get into it, look, I mean, I've done a YouTube video on this game, so if you want, we'll come to the dashboard. We'll come to. Oh, look, Space Tea has arrived! Yay! Thank you very much, my love. That's early.
Good.
Space Tea. This is my space mug. So check this out. This is my dear friend John Hoggard and family sent me this. This is my space mug. Today will be a day long remembered. It's kind of got these little graphical versions of all the Star Wars characters. So there we go. I like mugs. Mugs are good. Space Tea has arrived. Space Tea is very good. So yeah, so lots of mugs. So most of the music wasn't Dave, and apparently there's a story. Oh, we must find out about that, Stephen. Now you've piqued my interest. We need to find out more about the music. I think the intro sequence did say something about Dave Lowe and somebody else, or a group, Quality Quartet, whatever that might mean. So yeah, my wife's very good at bringing me cups of tea. It's very good for the mug. That was definitely a mug. Yeah, this is way too early for the mug though. But you'll notice the date somewhere. There it is on the screen. 3250. We're now 50 years later on. Now I have done a video about this game because it's a little bit notorious, and I probably won't go into it on today's stream unless anybody wants me to waffle on about it a bit. But I have done a video all about the controversy that surrounded this game because its build. And just to put it in short terms, so I'll try and be as concise as possible, which obviously is a major challenge for me. This is doomed to failure from the beginning, but it's worth a try. I'll give it a whirl. Is that this game was originally built when it was first announced? Given that you've all seen Frontier Elite 2, okay, so you know about that. That was 1993. So we're going back in time, 1993. We've all played Frontier Elite 2. It's got its pros and cons. Overall, it's a good game. Okay, probably not as definitive as the original Elite, I would say, but still impressive as we've discussed and as we've shown over the last few weeks. This is announced. Frontier First Encounters is announced as an expansion pack. Okay, an expansion pack to Frontier Elite 2. That's how it's announced in the gaming press of the time, which was just magazines that you bought on the shelves of W.H. Smith's. Okay, there wasn't really. I mean, technically the internet was there, but nobody was using it. That was anybody. And the situation with respect to David Braben and Ian Bell was already complicated by this point, but was getting more complicated. And this game was the cause of their major falling out. Because Ian Bell basically said, look, if you want to, David Braben and Ian Bell did work on Elite 2, which wasn't Frontier Elite 2, something else, way back, and they basically worked out that the 8-bit computers weren't good enough to manage it, the sort of scope they wanted. So the project sort of languished for a bit. Now David Braben came back to look at it, and by this point Ian Bell had kind of moved on. I think he was doing martial arts or something strange anyway, but he didn't have time or didn't have the inclination to work on another computer game. So David Braben basically said, look, I want to do another one, can I have your permission to do so? Can we come to an arrangement? And Ian Bell basically said, yes, we can come to an arrangement. What's the arrangement? And they worked out together that David Braben would be able to sell Elite 2, and Ian Bell would get a royalty payment based on the sales of Frontier Elite 2, which sounds all fair and reasonable, okay? But they put in the contract that any expansions, which were many to be planned, any expansions for Frontier Elite 2 would also attract a royalty payment for Ian, but of a lesser amount, because obviously he was no longer involved. But his thinking was, I imagine, that in order to play the expansions, you'd have to buy the base game, i.e. Frontier Elite 2. So any expansions that David Braben came up with would push more copies of the base game. So Ian Bell would continue to get royalties. What actually happened was that Frontier First Encounters eventually came out as a standalone game. Not an expansion pack. It runs independently of the original game, and doesn't require you to buy Frontier Elite 2 at all in order to run it. So this game came out, and then no royalty payments were due to Ian Bell on the sales of this game because of the fact that David Braben was pitching it as a completely new game. And anyway, it all got very unedifying and very nasty, and they were suing each other and eventually calling each other out for libel and all sorts of stuff. So it got very messy, and the two don't speak till today as a result of that altercation. Now, whether you who's right and who's wrong, I've read through all the transcripts of the various different interviews, and I don't think either of them come out very well, to be honest. At the time, and it's even today it still rumbles on in sorts of ways. Some people have bought the Ian Bell's rights and attempted to subvert things during Elite Dangerous. So you may have come across the Spider-Man Games RPG Kickstarter was actually derailed temporarily by people attempting to use Ian Bell's old rights to Elite to actually subvert their Kickstarter. So stuff rumbles on to this day. But so. Is this game a sequel, a standalone product, or is it actually Frontier Elite 2 dressed up in some new stuff? Well, I'll let you decide that, because there are certain similarities. let me demonstrate. Now, let's forget the user interface for a moment, because as you can see, that's considerably different. But if we go through what we can actually see on screen, okay, so we still have the Star Dreamer. The Star Dreamer is here. This thing here. This is the Star Dreamer that you may remember from the previous game. And if I hit this icon, which is the telephone, for those of you who are less, who are young, may not initially recognise this particular icon as a telephone, but it is in fact a telephone. The funny thing is, of course, looking at it now, it looks really, really odd, because, of course, in 1995, this is what telephones looked like. Whereas, of course, in the 3300s, nobody would expect that sort of double-ended, strange, bone-shaped thing to be a telephone, I'm sure. But anyway, if we click on that, what do we get? Well, whoa.
The software's down, so things may be a bit slow for a while. Just be patient, it'll be fine.
I just realised I haven't got the sound on. Hang on, mate, let me try that again. He's not going to play now. We've got some very strange full motion videos and things going on, which we'll come to. Anyway, you may notice this UI is vaguely familiar. Okay, now there are a few things that have changed. There's a sort of background to the ships. Now it's very low res, as you can see, but the idea here being, I think, that this is the interior of your ship in some sort of strange way. And if I go to the shipyard, oh, here we are.
Welcome to the shipyard, Commander. Please choose a service and you'll be connected to our sales personnel.
We may have to switch those off, because those are going to get old so fast. I've just realised my hat's not straight. There we go. Let's get that. Oh, I've got an echo on. Sorry. Yeah, it's probably my fault, because the. Anyway, it is a bit pretty rubbish. But the UI, okay, the UI. Now, is this really a new game? Come on, it's clearly the same code base underneath it all, with some stuff put on top, because all of this is literally the same. Okay, there are some new ships, but there are also some of the originals. So let's have a look. Yeah, view. This UI, the idea behind the hyperspace ranges and everything else is absolutely identical. Most of this has not changed at all. So I can see Ian Bell's point here, in the sense that, really, you're going to say this is a brand new game? It's not. It's not a brand new game at all.
Shipyard Limited. Take your time, make your choice, spend your money.
So this this in-game footage, we should talk about that in a bit, because it's excruciatingly bad. And there's the police. Let's still talk the police. There we go.
Don't take any risks, Commander.
It hasn't dated well, has it? So in some ways, it's a lot worse than Frontier Elite 2 because it tries. I mean, this is the CD version. This is basically an emulation. And by the way, I'm using John Jordan's digitally kind of reverse engineered version of FFE here in order to run it. Partly so we can get the full effect with the full motion video without me having to try and resort to emulating CD drives. And partly because this has most of the bugs fixed, so the game actually worked. So yes, the full motion video is a feature which is available in the CD-ROM. I mean, we're talking about CD-ROMs now. That's how advanced we got. Okay, the CD-ROM version of this game, the base version game that came on floppy disk, did not have this amazing enhancement. So we've lost that sort of, in Frontier Elite 2 we had the photo fit arrangement of a photo fit arrangement that was kind of generated on the file, and the amazing ultraviolet lady that we met, who rather captivated me for a while. So we had that in Frontier Elite 2, which kind of worked, but yeah, we had half a gigabyte, half a gig of full motion video in this game, which was kind of, I suppose it was a bit of a differentiator back then, but it is it's quite excruciating at times, but it is quite amusing, and it's part of the gaming experience, so we have to do it justice. So this is a fully working version, John Jordan's reverse engineered version of FFE for stability, but preserving all the original resolution, all that sort of stuff. Is Jenny? Yeah, we need to find a Jenny, don't we? We'll see what we can do. Anyway.
Come in and have a look around. There are special offers in all departments.
And it does kind of look like they went round the office, and one afternoon on a Friday, it gives you the sort of vibe that was who wants to be in the game? I do. Right, in here then. Say this in front of the camera, that'll do. That seems to be the approach that was taken. Anyway, right, we're getting distracted, so surprisingly. Right, so the UI, okay, so what's happening here? Now this is all sort of a bit new, okay, so the UI is a bit different, but all the controls are still there. So if you remember, we had the Star Dreamer. Here it is, there's the Star Dreamer down there. This is now the autopilot. This stuff here is the undercarriage. This is the thrusters, and this is a big warning sign saying don't take off at the moment because you haven't got permission to do so. The icons that were across the sort of top of the screen in Elite 2 are kind of here, but they're slightly context sensitive. So you'll notice that if I click on various things, that it tells me which one's kind of operative. So it's a little bit more sophisticated in that sense. However, it's virtually illegible because the resolution is so low. We're still at 320 by 200 resolution here. You can't really make them out. So actually, I think it looks worse. Personally, it's way harder to use than the previous interface, and there are some big problems with this UI, which how they missed it in QA, and that's probably the point. This game was rushed to market. Okay, this game was rushed to market, and when it launched, it had lots of bugs and playability issues, and the UI appears to be one of those things that was kind of a good idea but wasn't tested enough. So here's an example of this. So if I click on the map, and again we kind of it gets messy here because the background, I mean, it's trying to give us an impression of this being a holographic simulation sitting in front of your screen with the view of your spaceship in the background, which is kind of quite good. I can see what it's trying to do. Yeah, and the background stays, but it's because it's so low res, it becomes really, really hard to use. And now here's a problem, okay? So in this mode, I can see all the buttons, right? For some reason, the date is hovering there. I don't know why that is. When I click here though, if I click on anything, i.e. let's select the gateway system, which is where we are, the text here goes gateway distance 0 light years, red giant star, outdoor jungle world, children. It's very hard to read because of the context here, but also it sits in top of all of the useful icons. So there are some icons I want to press here, but I can't see them because there's text in front of them, and there doesn't seem to be any way to get this text out of the way. It just stays there. It doesn't work. So there's the button there for, you can, if I go back to, I don't think there's a way of actually getting, there you go. There's the button for population. There's the one for economy. There's the zoom in, zoom out buttons, and there's another one. But when you're in this mode, you can't see them. So it's not great. Let's be honest, it's not great. And so unless you know what the keyboard controls are, you can't get to them, and then you have to go through the manual trying to figure out how stuff works, or just get used to it, I guess. But this although the galaxy map has changed a bit, because we start the game off in Alliance space. Now the Alliance didn't exist in the previous game. FFE, no FFS. And Stephen Ash says the biggest problem with FFE that it was released in 1995 but completely incompatible with Windows 95. Yeah, so this game did not do well. Okay, I've looked up, and Elite sold hundreds of thousands of copies, as did Frontier Elite 2. Whereas this game barely managed 100,000, so it was not a success. Let's put it that way. But it is part of the it's part of the Elite history, so we've got to look at. You can select stars with the mouse, so that is really a useful enhancement. I haven't got to hope that I can hit the targets. I can actually click on things. Look at this. I can actually go, whoop, there, I want that star. So it's got mouse support. Ooh, that's really, really good. So that's a good thing. But the Alliance exists. Okay, now the Alliance in space is above. I think there we go. There's the core. So there's Sol, etc., etc. The Alliance is sort of north of the Federation, north and west of the Federation, and the Empire still exists down here as it did before. Okay, so the same galaxy generation stuff has been used, but there are a few new things in here. The Alliance is a political entity that now exists. Okay, the Alliance is a political entity that now exists. So some stuff has changed in the last 50 years. Okay, that's a good thing. The rest of this, you will not be surprised to know, it looks virtually identical. We've still got the orreries. We've still got the system map, which works in exactly the same way as before. And we still got this long-range galactic map. I can actually I've just discovered something. I can use page up and page down to kind of move that text off the screen, the screen mostly. There we go. So there we go. I've actually found a way around the UI. I wonder if that's a real feature. Anyway, we can still zoom in and zoom out here. That kind of works. And now it's it's back again. But that is, again, that's identical to what we had before. Okay, and that's a thing. I don't know what that button does. That one doesn't seem to do anything. So first impressions are kind of like, this is not much different, is it? Really, let's be honest. First impressions. There's a new console, which is actually in some ways a step back in usability, but it kind of gives you the sense of, I suppose, being on a spaceship. It does have a sort of dashboardy type feel, where the other one was literally just icons. So it's kind of pros and cons to that one. Can you target things in the system map? I don't know. That's a good question. Doesn't seem like it. No, you can't. So we'll play around with all these. There are a few other bits and pieces. Okay, so here are the indicators for fuel and engine temperature, and I think something else. I can't remember what it was. So that's a thing. That changes between navigation and weapons. So we've got 2 missiles on board, and I don't know what that button does. We'll find out. And the only other thing you've got, okay, so here's where it is different. Here's where there are some new features. So we'll go into this a little bit more now. Here on this menu here, this is our equipment status, and again you'll recognise this. This looks extremely familiar again. All of that equipment works in the same way. Okay, so we've got pulse lasers and beam lasers and all that kind of good stuff. We have exactly the same military standing, alliance criminal record, presumably we're in the alliance now, so we have got that third political power, federal rank, imperial title, elite, ranking stays the same. It doesn't appear there that we've got an alliance ranking. I don't think there is one. But here we do have some newspapers. Okay, now this is actually a really nice feature of Frontier First Encounter, which I think Elite Dangerous hasn't actually yet equalled, and probably won't, because it's just not something that they're doing. But you've actually got 5 different newspapers which are synced with your progress in the game. So obviously this is still a single player game, okay? So as you progress, and if you do some of the missions that these newspapers talk about, these newspapers change and they update themselves. So you've got the Imperial Herald, which tells things from the Imperial perspective. So it's very kind of jingoistic and Imperial. You've got the Federal Times, which of course is the opposite. It basically does everything from the perspective of the Federation. Random intergalactic gossip is mostly just nonsense, but it's got a few little interesting tidbits. It's sort of like the in the UK that would be the Sun or the Daily Express. Complete nonsense, but occasionally entertaining. Frontier News is relatively sane and sensible, and Universal Scientist concentrates on certain discoveries that are going on. So they're quite useful, and you as the player can appear in these newspapers, not necessarily directly named, but so and so stole something from the XYZ system, all those kind of things. So that is really good. That's really good. It's quite immersive. So if we have a look at the Imperial Herald, it starts off with the galaxy's biggest and most exploitative greed-inspired dreamware fiasco is taking place once again on the planet Hope in the Alliance system. So it's very disparaging of anything that isn't Imperial. Okay. Several dozen relatively inexperienced pilots are permitted to land on the starport of Old Kira and then take off simultaneously in a desperate hurry to reach their goal in Alioth. Needless to say, significant numbers of ships are lost in this insane action alone, but the sad fact is that the race which follows sees the deaths of literally hundreds of pilots from around the galaxy, all for the sake of a few thousand credits. So you get the impression there's some sort of race on. I wonder what that could be. Pilots are encouraged to race the 12 light years from Gateway, that's where we are, to the Alliance capital of Alioth, and are rewarded for being the first to arrive on the planet of Wicca's World, the so-called cultural centre of the Alliance. The fact that this is all organised and sponsored by Dreamware Group, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, it goes on like that. So, there's most of it is junk, but there is, in each article, there's something, right, that kind of it tells you what to do. Or at least if you want to. You don't have to. You can kind of contribute. Now, if you go to the bulletin board, you'll notice...
Hey, sunshine. Come on in and look around.
Sunshine. Ah, dear. Now, somewhere in here is the Wicca race. So Wicca's World. I mean, Wicca's World was a TV program, so you might not have spotted that particular thing. Frontier News subscription. I don't know. I mean, I must admit, I don't know very much about this game, but somewhere you sign up for that race. I don't know how you do it. So maybe somebody could tell me. But anyway, before we get to that, we need to talk about the manual as well. Okay, so before we even take off, now the manual, I haven't actually got a text copy of the manual, but I managed to find a sort of PDF version. I'm in the wrong starport. Okay, so there we are. I need to have a look at that. Interesting enough, in this version that I've downloaded, and I wonder if this is accurate, so maybe somebody can tell me, but this version of the manual starts off with the same letter that we got from in the previous game. It starts off with the letter from Mrs. Sue Cripple and Sneer Solicitors, saying that your grandfather, Peter Jameson, has been killed in the Ridquat system in 3199, but the year now is 3250, so either this letter has been very long delayed, and it's not really been edited or not at all to kind of match the next game, other than the Eagle Mark 1 has been replaced with Saka or Saka Mark 3. And you get, interesting enough this time, is you get 1,000 credits rather than 100. So the game starts off a tiny bit easier. And I was like, really? Is that true? And it is. So you start off with 1,000 credits, not 100 credits, which hopefully makes things a tiny little bit easier when you start off the game. And interesting enough, Elite Dangerous, I think I'm right in saying, starts you off with 1,000 credits as well. Okay, so Commander Eric says the manual just starts with welcome to your second Mark 3, so that might be an error in the person who put the PDF together in that case. So let's just go to the manual bit about welcome to the Seika Mark III, because it's quite funny. Let's have a look. Welcome to your Seika Mark III. So here we go. It says things like this. Okay. Welcome to your Seika Mark III. Just about the most bouncy ship we've ever hopped with. Do you know what that's supposed to mean? Spins like a dream. Okay, so Stephen Usher says there's no letter in the original manual. So okay, so whoever put the PDF together has obviously pulled that from FE2. I wondered if that might have been the case, so thanks for confirming that. So there is no background as to why you're sitting on Gateway in a Seika Mark III in the year 3250. There is no lore explanation like there was in the previous game. So it appears in this game we're not related to any of the Jamesons, although our commander is Jameson as he starts out. So I don't know what's happened in that 50 years. Are we another generation adrift, or what? It's not made clear in the lore. So there is no lore here. Anyway, it apparently cruises like a comet with a kick of a solar flare, whatever that means. These are just some of the things that have been said about the Seika Mark III fighter, and we're sure that you'll want to say many, many more once you've rocketed your way around the galaxy. I'm sure we will. Welcome to the world of the Seika. Climb in through the unique triple locking entry hatch. Stroll around the compact living quarters where you'll find just about everything you could possibly need, from a sleeping shelf, which doesn't sound very comfortable at all, to a heating appliance. So we have somewhere to sleep, which is not very comfortable, and we have a heater. The ship is extremely well equipped. Spend some time flipping through the Paradise View digital window catalogue until you find the view from your bed that sets you most at ease. I assume that's some sort of holographic background that you can have on your bed. Run your fingers along the fine lines of the carpet ridging and stare in awe at the artistic positioning of the rivets along the corridor roof. Say to yourself, this is a ship with real class. I love this stuff. This is just really funny. Step forward. Does it have a cigarette lighter? It probably does, given it's the 90s. Step forward into the cockpit to take your first look at 34th century technology, available now in the middle of the 33rd. The plastichrome panelling, which sounds cheap to me. Hidden laser mood enhancers. I don't know what they would do. I mean, somebody who's more scientifically literate than me can tell you, can you use a laser to enhance your mood? Our pride and joy, the Liqui Couch, the galaxy's first ever solid liquid control seat. I'm not sure what solid liquid is. Doesn't sound comfortable to me at all. Utilising 9th century technology borrowed from the same Earth travellers who built the Dead Sea. Our technicians have come up with the first seat you actually sit in rather than on. A semi-liquid base. Oh, we've gone semi-liquid now. Filled with an almost infinite amount of miniature solid particles. Who wrote this? Cushion you and keep you buoyant, leaving you almost floating in your seat. Not only is this an incredible, comfortable way to fly, but it also acts as a wonderful, wonderful personal suspension for those bumpy atmospheric entrances. Make yourself comfortable and get ready for the flight of your life. So I suspect. I get the impression this isn't a great ship. I don't know anything about what a Seika. What? Yeah, this is the Mark III. What happened to the Mark I and the Mark II? We don't know. So it's and then it kind of goes on in the same vein. The Seika Mark III craft has been constructed with a knowledge of 200 years of ship design and has to be one of the most user-friendly ships around. And then it sort of disparages the previous game a bit by saying, some of you might remember the days when you had to work through your 7 turbo lifts and 5 decks of a ship to find out what was flying behind you, and changing from standard drive to hyperdrive was a work of 7 robots. The new Rosyth shipyards remember those terrible days all too well, which is why we were the first company to come up with the revolutionary command console, which is presumably this amazing piece of UI that we have in front of us. The only ship control that allows one person to do just about everything they want, with everything within arm's reach. Comfort and convenience go arm in arm in our cockpits. And then it kind of goes on to disparage the previous game. This shows you the layout of your command console. Anyone used to flying with a decrepit Falcon Lacy cockpit, the aging unit that meant you had to repeatedly hit switches to cycle through the various jobs they performed, might leap a mile at the number of panels on the new layout, but bear with it for a while. And you'll find out it's easier to use than a Titan cattle wedge. I've got no idea what you might actually do with a Titan cattle wedge, but it's clearly quite an easy thing to use. So it goes on like this for quite whoever wrote this is obviously on something. It goes on for quite a while in this vein, but I thought I'd stop at the Titan cattle wedge and just leave that to your imagination. Ah dear. Surprise is not called the Seiko. Well, it should have had a Turgo. I suggest googling Titan cattle wedge might not be a good idea. Ah dear. So yeah, this is a weird thing with the naming conventions of these ships. Don't Google cattle wedge. There are a bunch of ship manufacturers in the game that do exist. So Neurosive shipyards don't exist in Elite Dangerous. I think they were bombed out of existence in some point in the timeline, so they no longer exist. So, but Falcon Lacy, obviously, despite the disparaging attempts by the Neurosive shipyards to diss them, still exist, obviously, in Elite Dangerous. What happened to these ships? It's not clear. The Elite Dangerous timeline never explained what happened to all the old ship classes. Because again, if we go back to the game for a minute, in here.
Shipyards Unlimited. Take your time, make your choice, and spend your money.
Yeah, there's loads of ships here. I mean, some of them have yeah, but not many of these. I mean, the Viper Defence Craft Mark III. That's the new Viper. That's the Mark II, and the one that we have in Elite Dangerous is the Mark III. So that's kind of got some continuity there. But the rest of these have just disappeared. They don't exist. There's no analysis to what happened to them, because in Elite Dangerous terms, this is 50 years ago, which is not that long. But all of these spaceships have disappeared. They've all gone. Who knows? Yeah, there's no lore explanation for what happened to those. Nobody knows. Anyway, now what's interesting also here is you can see the skies rotating. So all that sort of realistic physics stuff that we got used to in Frontier Elite 2 still exists in this game, which is quite nice. And I'm just going to reload this save because as I've been waffling on, the sun has set. So as you start the game, it's sunset on wherever we are, okay? And there's a Wyvern Explorer. Is that Wyvern white? There could be, who knows? And the ship reviews are quite good in the main. Now, you know, interesting enough, in the next 5 minutes, the sun will set. And this is where the game starts. So we are actually on the planet of, well, in the Gateway system, and we are, where are we actually on? So I'm guessing we're here. Hope. Okay, so this is the world with digital life. So it's an Earth-like world that we're sitting on. And we're in the Seiko Mark III, which looks like this, okay? It's just an utterly stupid spaceship design, all right? So I don't know really what to make of this. It's very Buck Rogers. It's all pointy and unnecessary, okay? That's basically how I'm going to say. It looks like that's very good. It looks like a Klingon knife, doesn't it? The sort of thing you stab into something and it does more damage coming out than it does going in. Now it's a good point on the graphics. Now you can see, interesting enough, you can just, I mean, you can only see it when you move it because the graphics are so bitty that it's hard to make out. But the registration number there, TY198, is the same as the Eagle was in 3200. Now that's a bit odd. So that registration number has been reused from the original game, which again lends credence to it's actually the same code underneath. It hasn't been changed. Are the graphics better? Well, it's a matter of perspective. It's difficult. It's cleverer. It's more sophisticated. But does it look better? I personally don't think it does. What it's doing is it's employing a technique called I think I'm right in saying that. Stephen Usher will come on the Ariok will correct me if I'm not. It's employing a technique. It's doing texture mapping. Okay, so the textures are mapped across the polygons, which you can see, but it's also doing something. I think it's Gaurad shading, which is light sensitive, or it's trying to do some shading anyway from a light source, so that you kind of get this speckled effect of darkness versus light to kind of give it some shading. But the problem being is that the resolution is so low, it really just looks messy. I think that's exactly it. TY198 ELRF, which is an excellent username. Graphics are technically better, but aesthetically worse. I think that's exactly it. I think they've, it's clever. And again, this is something that I will level as a criticism of all the Frontier Elite games. Actually, is technically clever, but not necessarily the right choice. So you can see now. What I will do is you can see there's texture mapping over there. There's actually another ship over there. Look. Now this is another thing. This is another thing that I think is a really weird aesthetic choice. Okay, so our ship is tiny, which is fair enough because it's the starter ship. Yeah. How do I zoom out again? Plus and minus. There we go. Now there's another ship on the pad just across from me. Now look at this. I don't know what ship that is, but it's a relatively big ship. Now what's going on there? Okay. It's like it's got a TARDIS mechanism, and one of the Thargoid ship that we see in the the Thargoid ship that we see in the intro sequence has a moving section, and it's just like we can animate things on the ships, so we have, and it's like no spaceship would have that, would that? I mean, what? Why? It's wacky racing. So there's the sun's just set again. As I've been talking, the sun's gone down. That's why the sky changed colour. So this I don't like. This I feel, maybe that's the cattle wedge. This I feel is silly. Okay, and I have no idea why it's in the game. It looks like a complete waste of time. And it's I can think of no reason why that needs to be there. I don't mind spinning nacelles on things like the Imperial Courier. That's sort of cool, okay? But this is, I mean, there's no way a ship would fly with a thing changing the centre of mass dramatically every few seconds. I mean, it's just nonsense. So it should be there should be a trumpet. There's sort of it should be one of those what are those squeegee things? The squeegee organs. What are they called? That's what it needs. It needs that sort of sound. To be honest, this is the sort of thing Yamik should be using on his stream. Accordion. That's what it should be making a sort of busted accordion sound. Is what I think. Let's do it when it takes off. I don't know. So that to me is. It's just silly, and there are a lot of ships that do that in the game. I mean, it's just the massager anyway, so I've got no idea what that's all about. And it's just a technological tour de force. Look what we can do because we can, and it just looks very silly. So I don't like that. But anyway, so that's the Seika Mark III. Now there is animation on this, so we're going to take off. Okay, we're going to take off. Brace yourselves. Oh, he's not there. That's all right. So we can launch. Right. So launch. That gets rid of that thing. We get the same message. See the looks and paper for launching. Now I need to switch the engines on, and we sort of take off. Okay. Then we can do the same thing with the we have to be careful because the gravity does sort of switch on. The ships don't hover in this game, which is a bit annoying. There we go. So right, I'm taking off. Let's put the undercarriage up, which is now over here. Exactly the same as before. Okay. And so just as we're taking off, there is more. I mean, there is sort of stuff to look at. So let's just zoom out. There are buildings of a very peculiar design, let's say. So some of them are just normal skyscrapers. There's like these wiggly X-shaped things. I don't know. Again, they're kind of just there because Nothing like the simple elegance of the those original kind of domes and all sorts of things. There's been a lot of architectural changes. I quite like the tower there. That looks quite good. And we're still using power transmission cables, it seems, in the 3250, and wind power. So I'm not quite sure why that's there. But there are some turbines there, or what I assume are wind turbines, and they're actually turning around. I don't know if you can see that. But it's sort of, again, it's clever, but it's more a case of let's do it. And there's a sort of nice geometric pattern on the ground there. So I suppose an attempt to make it look a little bit like it's inhabited. Now the planet's surface is procedurally generated. So it's not just a flat expanse of nothing like in Frontier Elite 2. There is actually a landscape here, and you can see there's actually some relief. There's the horizon over there, but there are actually some hills or mountains perhaps behind us. Now we don't have anything like an SRV in this game, but I flew over there. I want to show you this because this is actually, I was quite surprised by this, and actually it's more impressive than you might necessarily think. So let's get the ship down. So look, the sun is setting and there's a sea over there, so we'll fly over there in a minute. But you can see at this angle, you can see the hills rising in the background, all the mountains. So if we fly in that direction, okay, and we fly in such a way to keep the ship kind of horizontal, there we go. So we've got the same attitude vector and a directional indicator as before, which kind of works. Now, if I aim sort of between the horizon and the top of the hill, now the altitude is slowly going up because we're climbing. Okay, there we go. So there's our ship. Okay, so we're flying back across the port now. You can see the under thrusters are still thrusting, which is kind of keeping vertical velocity. So there's, that whole realistic physics gravity thing is still kind of working here. We can see the atmosphere has got that sort of, I think it's stippled. Is that the right word? Stippled shading. So rather than just different colours, it's actually now stippling, which is a little bit more sophisticated. But again, looks a bit rubbish. And the ground is, you can see that you've now got, although it flickers on and off in a really annoying way. Dithering, there's the word. I'm losing altitude. No, I'm going up now. I'm okay. At least you can see that you're moving across the surface. So I suppose that's reasonably clever. So the entire planet's surface is procedurally generated with this sort of terrain. Okay. Now as we get closer to the hills, let's go a little bit faster, just so we get there. You can see the hills do actually sort of slowly tessellate into a shape. Okay, and it is. You can see the polygons are changing and shifting all the time. That's the only. It's again technically quite clever, but aesthetically it just looks a mess. I personally think. And the rotating engine, yeah. So when this ship is in flight, and all the ships seem to have some little thing. Okay, so the Seiko Mark III has a rotating engine because it does. Okay, I don't know why that is. Okay, but it has a rotating engine, which of course, again, doesn't make any. Why would you have a rotating engine? You don't need to have a rotating engine, and that's going to be a total liability on a spaceship, okay, because the rest of the ship ought to start rotating in the opposite direction. Or you're going to have all sorts of weird torque steer as well. The bottom thrusters are working as well, so that to be honest I don't mind so much, but it's kind of implying the ship isn't aerodynamic, so it's not generating the lift as it's flying. There's no dish on the top. No, that's a good point. Now we're getting close to the mountains. You can see the mountains sort of taking form in front of us. So let's go a little bit. In fact, we'll use the time acceleration a little bit. There we go. So as we get closer to the mountains, there is some form to them. And what I was quite impressed with here is as we fly towards them, watch what happens to the altitude meter. Okay. Is at the moment we're rising, and then at some point in a moment, there we go. The altitude starts going down. Okay, so the ship is aware of the terrain. Okay, and if I continue in this direction, I will crash into those mountains, even though I'm actually going up relative to the planet. The simulation is good enough that it's recognising that there's terrain below me. It's not just graphics. Okay, so I thought that was quite good. I thought that was quite impressive. So, you know, I actually would need to take avoiding action to get above that thing. It's now thrusting quite hard in order to get me above that hill or that kind of landscape change. So that's I think is quite good. So there is actually terrain of a type in this game, which is, you know, I think that's quite impressive. That is definitely cleverer. And now we're having to, if we zoom around to the map, we're having to climb above the plane that we were on. We can still see the spaceport in the background there in order to get over these mountains, which look to be pretty tall actually. 15,000 meters up, and we still can't see the opposite horizon yet. Let's just fly over the top. So some clever stuff has been done. It just doesn't look great. And sometimes, there we go, we can just about see there's the horizon again. Okay, so it's almost like a plateau at the top, and you can see different bits of terrain, you know, as you do it, and there's stuff up there, so there is sort of things to kind of go and look at, as before. So let's turn the ship around. I want to fly back over the sea now, so let's just head for the horizon. There we go, the main engines are on. I don't know if you can hear that. There we go, so now we're turning back that way, and we'll fly back over the port. Now we're at relatively high. You can also see the curvature of the planet now, which is again quite nice. So it is better than Frontier Elite 2's surface graphics. It's just its ambition is plain to see, but the resolution and the number of colours available to the system at the time is just hot. It just doesn't quite work for me, and the ship is genuinely awful. So there we go. Look, we're now flying above the base at quite a high speed. We are heading downwards, which will be a slight problem. Let's just adjust it so you can still see it. There it goes. And there's a coastline. Okay, there is a coastline, which again we can fly across. And it tries to do, as you can see, it tries to do little inlets and things, but it's always moving. So where the coastline actually is changes as you get close to it. And it's, there's little attempts there to make the coastline look slightly different to the rest of the sea. It's just a shame it's always sort of shuffling about. But it's quite impressive. There you go, there's the coastline. So we're now flying across the sea. You can still see the sort of mountain range in the background. And now we're flying across the sea, which extends to the horizon, as you can see. And if we go straight up from here, so let's try that. There we go. So we're now thrusting vertically. So let's get into space. So I hope the ship is made out of something quite strong, because a 90-degree turn at about 8 times the speed of sound. It's a quantum state line, yeah. So yeah, it's kind of, apparently it's all procedurally generated. I don't know quite how it does it, but it's presumably some sort of seed that generates a coastline and such. So it's clever. Does it look better than Frontier Elite 2? I think in some ways Frontier Elite 2's graphics just look purer because they're simpler and they're easier to understand. Whereas this gets very busy a lot of the time. And it is impressive, but there is a problem. Okay, we'll have to go to Earth at some point, and I won't spoil it for those of you who haven't seen it, but there's been a problem on Earth in the last 50 years, which this game introduced as a thing. So there we are, we're thrusting up. You can still see the mountain range there at the background. You can still see the coastline. You can still see the port there. And there is a sense that things disappear into the greyness, okay, of the atmosphere, which I think is quite nice. So, things get less distinct at distance. There's the curvature of the planet again. And as we thrust up into space, let's just put the Star Dreamer on. Again, you can sort of see the coastline. It renders itself at a certain level of polygons, and that goes down as the further you go away from it. And there you can see the planet coming into view and the coastline that we just came away from. But now the spaceport is in the sea because the resolution of the fractals has dropped. But it's quite impressive. And there you are. There's the planet, and you can sort of see it's got different colours for the sunlit side and so on and so forth. So that is quite good. Now, out in space. Okay. So if we go a bit further, There we go. So let's just zoom out. Okay, so it gets simpler and simpler the further away you get, and you can kind of get a feel for it. So it's quite clever. I'll give it that. I think it's got some advantages and some disadvantages. Okay, and then yes, there's obviously what I call space dandruff. I don't know what space dandruff is, but so the lighting is clever. There you can see the star, and the planet definitely has a bright side to it, which is again is quite clever. It's quite clever. It's just a shame the resolution is so low in the original game. The Milky Way in the background there is still the Milky Way. Now, again, I don't know if this is an option on the original game, or whether this is a John Jordan's version of it. Okay. Because look what we have here under graphic detail. We have space color, and the default appears to be light blue, which I think is from Frontier Elite 2. That seems to be the. Now we do have the option to change this. Okay. Now I don't know if this is something that John Jordan put into the game to enhance it, or whether or not it's something that was in the game. So again, maybe somebody with the original version of the game can tell me this. But we can change the colour of space. Yeah, it's a John Jordan innovation. It is. It says command. Okay, so this wasn't available. Okay, but we can now change space colour. So let's try doing it. So there we go. Now space is dark blue or medium blue. Which does it look better? Well, it kind of does actually, doesn't it? That is actually rather nice. I think it kind of does give a sense of depth, but it wasn't in the original game. Okay, so then we've got dark blue, which kind of looks like that, which is just a slightly darker shade of blue. Again, that sort of does work for me. All right. Then we've got very dark blue. This isn't 50 Shades of Grey. This is 4 shades of blue. That's dark blue. Okay. And ultimately, of course, we can go black. Okay. So, as we know, black is kind of the colour of space. But oddly enough, let me know what you think. Here we go. That's black. Okay. So this is Frontier First Encounters in black, and it feels odd. See, I look at this and go, "Well, it should be black," and then I look at it and go, "Actually, the blue looks better." So there is something about that blue that kind of helps in a weird sort of way. The black kind of looks wrong to me. I don't know what you guys think in the chat. It's just. The navy space. There is something about this colour here, dark blue or very dark blue. I think I actually might even prefer that one. Yeah, let's put it on play. There's something about that kind of does have a better, almost aesthetic to it than the black, which is kind of weird, really. And it doesn't blend with the Milky Way so well. So, and it's also flickering a little bit there. I don't know if that's an artifact of the game. It does make it difficult to see the ship in black mode, but the Milky Way is what ruins it. So maybe let's go for dark blue, very dark blue, because that's the best one. That kind of works, doesn't it? Because it's got that sort of blue. There we go, and the Milky Way kind of works with that. In fact, that one's almost too dark. I think I prefer the dark blue one. That one there, the Milky Way doesn't stand out quite so much, and yet it's dark enough to give you that sort of depth. I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? And the ship does have black pixels. I suppose that's the problem. What bugs me is the amount of space particles. Okay, there are a lot of space particles. I don't know what those are supposed to be. I mean, it's space debris of some kind. I mean, that obviously is just to give you a sense of movement. But what I had noticed, and I think Frontier Elite 2 did this as well, there are background stars, aren't there, which aren't moving. I don't know if they're procedurally generated. If I go off the screen, no, they're persistent. That's quite good. So there's a sort of skybox behind it, and we can turn off the space dust. So let's just see what that looks like somewhere. So background stars are on, space dust, clouds, etc. We can switch off. We can switch off the videos as well if they get them. So now if we go back to the game, there's no sense of movement at all. Oh, we're in pause mode. There we go. So now we're moving. Okay. So there is no space dust now, which is a bit weird. Which is quite correct, but you're kind of so used to it in a spaceship game that it kind of almost doesn't feel right anymore. It's a shame there's not a sliding scale of space dust, really, isn't there? Because this isn't enough to convey a sense of moving at 62 kilometers. I know in my head that's, space is much more like that. And if we speed up time, then the planets will obviously move, which is correct. But we're so used to space games having space dandruff in them now that it kind of doesn't feel right not to have some space dust. So there we go. Space dust. Oh, now the space dust. There we go. Space dust has respawned. So it's an interesting aesthetic choice. What's the green pixel moving towards? I'm assuming that's a space station. So there we go. Yeah, it's a space station. So let's set the autopilot to go and take us there, because we should go and view a space station, shouldn't we? So that's definitely a space station. There we go. That's the main star. So there we go. Reverse thrust. Okay, there we go. So now this is Dublin Citadel. Now here's another thing. Okay, I'm going to put here's another thing. I'm going to put that on pause for a moment. Okay, so space stations. They're a bit weird, to be honest. Some of them are quite sensible design. This one actually is, I think, probably a reasonably sensible design. Let's get a bit closer to it, so we can have a little review. Oop, that was too fast. Okay, we'll come out in a moment then. That was a bit fast. So again, the interior is very similar. So let's just launch straight out.
Hello. Nice to see you. Take your time looking around.
Okay. Take your time looking around. Ah dear. Right, let's get back outside the space station again. Right. Ooh. Some slightly new sound effects. Those are a bit different. Anyway, let's stop there. So this is the space station, and it is a bit weird. So let's zoom that way, because that allows us to kind of have a look at it. It's kind of like a big. It reminds me of the Doomsday Machine from Star Trek. And it's, there we go. It's kind of a rotating. Now I've gone too far. Oh, rats. Hang on. Trying to remember how everything works here. There we go. Let's go back towards that. There we go. Not very fast. Okay, so there we go. Right, external view. So it's quite weird. There we go. We can sort of see it from the back. It's sort of, this one is just like a spinning tube with a kind of diagonal thrust. It's kind of like an O'Neill cylinder, but it's open at either end, and you can see the Galrad or Gurad shading working, doing its thing there, because it's dark on the interior, which I suppose would sort of make sense. And then there's the sort of docking entrance, and then there's the side of it. If you can just about see the name on the side there, Dublin Citadel, and there it is, Dublin Citadel, which is rotating out of view. So the texture mapping kind of works, and then we can kind of zoom. I suppose we can zoom through the interior by this angle. There we go. So we can. The external camera is actually quite useful for having a little peer around. Again, so and some of the space stations designed, yeah, the gigantic windows are a bit there. They would, I wouldn't, yeah, that diagonal tube does look a little bit weird. I mean, the gravity in that must be very, very strange indeed. So I don't know. That's not true choice. There are lots of different types of space stations here, and some of them are really, really wacky. We'll have to have a look at some of those. But there we go. There is another ship. Now here's another thing. Okay, the scanner. Okay, now this is a complete dog's breakfast. Notice the scanner here. Now it is tiny. Okay, it's tiny compared to the one that we had in Frontier Elite 2, which was about this big. It was twice as wide. The other thing that I really don't like about this is that as I rotate the ship, the scanner turns as well, which I don't want the reticle on. I don't want those scan lines to change. I want those to stay static, so I can gauge where the ship is. So because those lines move, I've got no easy way to say, is it in front of me? Because I want those lines to stay there. I don't. It's like a little whirligig. That's not helpful at all. The up and down is still okay because it gives me the classic Elite thing. But the fact that rotates is, why is it doing that? That's a total waste of time. You're making the UI harder to use because I can't tell exactly what's straight ahead and what's straight behind. It's just really hard to use. And the scanner simply isn't big enough because because it's so small. The resolution is too low. It needs to be bigger. That's Frontier Elite 2 again has got it okay here. That's really quite hard to use. So I don't know how that's going to be when we finally eventually get round to actually doing some combat. But it's going to be harder to use. See, it's not the same game at all. Lots of things have been made worse. Again, something which they put in because they could do it rather than whether it's a good idea. So there's lots of little flaws like that in the game, which are just why they're just so annoying. That to me is a very bad piece of design. Anyway, let's try and do something. So. Let's be not playing, but talking about this for an hour and 2 minutes. We've done nothing at all. Let's load our original command. Now, the same thing applies. Let's try and do a run. Okay, we'll just do a normal milk run, and we'll come back and think about the missions and stuff later. So the first things first is we've got some missiles on board, which, as we know from Frontier Elite 2, are totally and utterly useless. So they can go straight away.
Come in. The software's down, so things may be a bit slow for a while. Just be patient. It'll be fine.
The software is down. Anyway. Oh.
Welcome to the shipyard, Commander. Please choose a service and you'll be connected to our sales personnel.
Okay, right. So anyway, upgrade. Now here's the thing that
What can we do for you?
gets really annoying quite quickly. That full motion video, doesn't it? Sophia, no, we just started doing something. That didn't mean this. You haven't missed a thing, Sophia, as usual for my streams. Okay. Now there is a little bit of an enhancement here, which is quite good. Which is that if you've got an item installed, it shows you that you can remove it. Now this is the thing that Frontier Elite 2 didn't do. Okay, so here's a small enhancement. It's showing us that we've got missiles on because we can remove them. If you don't have the item, you can't remove it, so the UI disappears. So that's good. That's an enhancement. Maybe it was Konami Game Tech forcing things on FDev. Yeah, so there was a lot of publisher meddling in this title. So who's to say what some of these choices were? It's difficult to say. Now, so here we've got 2 missiles. Oh, we definitely don't need them. Okay, so we can unclick them, and then the option to remove them goes away. That's quite good. And oh yeah, so there's Arcturus Deluxe is quite good. Yeah, it drives me mad that some of those items don't have consistent capital letters. So auto targeter doesn't have a capital T. Navigation computer has a lowercase. That's very bad, isn't it? I hadn't even thought about that. Anyway, so we don't appear to have the autopilot anymore. Because the autopilot was so rubbish, it's now been downgraded to a navigation computer. Which is obviously probably a legal thing, so you can't call it an autopilot because that implies it's very good at piloting. So now we just have a navigation computer which clearly can make mistakes, so that's fine. So that's the autopilot, but it's no longer called the autopilot, it's called the navigation computer. So we've still got atmospheric shielding, we still have a scanner, we have a 1 megawatt pulse laser, and we have, we do have an automatic pilot. Oh, that's interesting. So what does the navigation computer do? Does anybody know? Actually, no, because we do have an automatic pilot. So what's the navigation computer for? Yeah, it doesn't cost anything anyway. It's got no weight. It's interesting as well. It gives you the maps and things. Okay, so we don't want to remove that. Okay, so that's an optional item, which yeah. Okay, weird. All right. Anyway, so we do have an automatic pilot, and surprise, surprise, we have a Class 1 hyperdrive, and we don't have anything else on board. But it does show us the sort of things we can aspire to. So there's a large plasma accelerator there for 500,000 credits. Navigating brings up a list of in-system destinations. Oh, okay, so that's what it does. Okay, that's cool. So there's a few things on here which are new. Okay, so there's a missile viewer. I don't think we had that before. There's a chaff dispenser. Did that exist before? I don't recall that. There's a combat computer. Don't know what that does. Some of the stuff here is the same. There's a tractor beam cargo scoop. Ooh. So interesting enough, tractor beam. This is technology that's disappeared by the time of Elite Dangerous. So 50 years ago we had tractor beams. That doesn't exist anymore. Tractor beams have gone. It's, whatever the technology behind tractor beams was, it's been forgotten. Energy. Yeah, and then plasma. So most of the equipment is the same. There's been a few extra bits of equipment. So it's Jeff Dispenser's best, a bit like an ECM, perhaps not as good to stop you getting killed by missiles, presumably. And we'll see if we can explore a few of those. Anyway, so we've stripped the ship down a little bit. Now,
Sure you want to come here? We don't sell anything under 100 credits.
excuse me. So the rest of this is the same. So I don't know where we want to go. What's in range? Is Alioth is out of range. So what's a good place to go? Does anybody know a good trading route from Gateway to somewhere? What can we? What's an exports here? So where's the exporty thing? That's it there, isn't it? So okay, so major exports are animal meats, medicines, animal skins, and chaff. So animal meat, I don't know. We kind of need one where animal meat, medicines, and chaff. It's a bit of a strange one, isn't it? Where can we go? Is there anywhere we can go? Belliers. That sounds like a place that might be potentially interesting. Okay, no, there's no government. That's interesting. There's government type none. It's an anarchy. Economy type unstable. Survival of the best armed. That's kind of suggesting that we shouldn't go there at the moment, I think. What about Endfall? Some prospecting and mining. There's not much out here, is there? So I don't know where we're. Tourism and agriculture. That's where we are. Okay. So what about mining and heavy manufacturing? So what do they want there? Do they want? Okay. So major imports, fruit and veg. Okay. So animal liquor is a minor import there. So that might let's try that as a run, because it's probably going to go badly wrong anyway. Izudi, I think, is all you have fuel for. So yeah, there's not many places we can get. We can get there, can't we? So yeah, that's not very far away. Oh no, it's out of range. I can't go there. That's interesting. There aren't many places I can actually get to. That's really hard to see that UI. There aren't many places I can actually get to. You're quite right. I can go there. No, I can't. I can go there. Some small scale mining operations. What do they want there? Major imports, fruit and veg, water and liquid oxygen. And minor imports, liquor. We can go there. We could. Well, actually, this is weird because there's no system. This is weird. It says minor imports, but there's no starports in that system. So what? You can't go there. There's nowhere to dock. Somebody's suggesting Sohalian. No, I said I've got fuel on board. There is a hyperspace range, because I think I can use. Where is Sohalian? I can't see it. Oh, up there. Right, fuel required 1 ton. Sohalian industrial mining system. Is there anything in there? There is a spaceport. Okay, so that's good. And they want liquor and luxury goods. Okay, so liquor might. Let's try liquor. So stock market.
Welcome. Training's going on mad. They're expecting a rush on the minerals. I'd sell up and get out if I were you.
Right on. So we can take a couple of tons of liquor. We can take a little bit of animal meat or fruit and veg. What was it that we wanted again? Animal meat, fruit and veg. Okay. Animal meat, fruit and veg. Try and remember that. Okay.
All right, come on in. If there's anything we can't see, we can try to get it for you.
Excellent. Good news. So there we go. Actually, we can do that, and that leaves us with 14 credits. Okay, so we've got 5 tons of thing, which allows us to start tidying. Okay, so in Sohalia there's an outbreak. Okay, so there is an outbreak now. Is there? Okay, so is that on one of the newspapers? Let's just have a quick read. Where's the newspaper? Does it say that in according to the newspapers? So that's Wicca's World, Alioth. That's the Jjagged Banner. That's another thing that's going on. Is there a Jjagged Banner? Does it say Frontier News? Okay, there's a spectacular Wiccan race is on again. So that's what's been talked about there. Does it say anything about? Oh, there we go. So in the Universal Science. So this is where you've got to read the newspapers. Thank you for pointing this out, Kelvinator. So-called Sohalian fever is running rife in 3 of the inhabited worlds in the system of Sohalia. Symptoms range from startling signs of da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So that suggests that it might be worth us taking medicines there. So I don't know if that's the case.
Don't hang around there, Commander. Everything.
Let's try taking medicines instead. In fact, we can only take 2 things of medicines anyway. Let's see if that works for us or not. I don't know if it's going to. So let's find out. So someone's actually said that Freaky Deaky Dude, are they game developers on the vids? I don't know. It would be nice to know because they're not the best actors. Anyway, let's try and do this jump. Right. So we have to launch request. Then we have to switch back to that view. Switch the engines on. Adjust up. Put the undercarriage up. Altitude. There we go. We're now thrusting away. The same sort of thing applies here. It's to be a certain distance from the ground before the hyperspace system activates. Which I can't. Where's the hyperspace thing? I can't remember where that is. Let's find out if it appears in a moment. There it is. Okay, so that's the hyperspace button over there now. The BBS demand for medicine. So we'll check the bulletin board when we get there. Okay, so we can hyperspace now. So let's see what the hyperspace is like. So here we go. So whoa. Okay, so that's changed. That's not the same. The hyperspace special effect is different. Do we still have the hyperspace exit point or not? Yeah, so that's still the same. Okay, so the hyperspace mechanism looks like it's the same. Okay, TY198 says reference. We bought the medicines for $4.73 a ton. Anyway, so there we go. We're now in the system, and we've come out of hyperspace. There's the exit hole thingy cloud, and now we need to go somewhere, I suppose, in this system. So we have a space station, Berlin Orbital Space Station around Planet 3. So this bit's exactly the same. We need to use the 1, 2, 3 Bradley's Legacy. Zoom in again. And you know, the idea of this being a holographic kind of image in front of the backdrop of your ship. You can change the backdrops of the ship actually, because these are bitmap files, which you can change in the direction. I think as you change ships, some of them change. So quite why the background of your Seika Mark III is a sort of alien-esque sort of environment. I don't know. It doesn't look very human tech, does it? It's a bit weird. Anyway, so I think we now click there. That's the autopilot. And let's click there. Then Star Dreamer. I think click there to make the autopilot. There we go. So some of the mechanics of the interface are a bit different, but it's basically the same. The arrow is now flashing to tell me that I'm hyperspace and the engines are engaged. The same sort of wackiness in terms of the thrusters and retro structures. So the background is a bit weird. Yeah, so I'd rather change it to something plain. I don't know if you can do that or not. Anyway, so this looks like it's relatively safe. Nothing's attacked us, so that's good. There's the retro thrusters coming in. I don't know if you saw that. There they go. So this mechanic is exactly the same as before. Oh, somebody's hyperspaced out there. Okay, here's another one of these wacky space stations. All right, so they've got weird rotating. Everything in this game has got weird rotating bits. So these are sort of the central part of the space station is spinning. I think if we stop for a moment, let's just switch the autopilot off. There we go. Put the speed down to 0. This is again another really weird thing about this game. Let's turn those targeting tunnels off so we can. 2 targeting tunnels. There we go. Switch that off. And put it back to play. So the space station is spinning around its sort of central axis, but these pods on the side also rotate. You'll notice that they're changing their angles. So the entire thing is like it's like a sort of Rubik's cube of stuff. It's really quite odd. There we go. Look, it's got I don't know what's going on here. It's a peculiar design of thing. Actually, no, this one isn't, is it? I thought it was. No, this one isn't rotating. This is just 2 great big arms. No, but there are some of these where it rotates. Maybe rotation was just a thing. No, this one isn't. These ones aren't rotating. Some of them do. And they almost overlap. They look really, really dangerous. It's like, and inside, the gravity. Well, the artificial gravity would be sort of doing this every few minutes. It would be. I can't tell. Is that at an angle now? Yeah. Yeah. Look, they are sort of rotating, but really, look, they are. Look, you can now see the edge of that one. They are rotating in a really weird sort of way. Just to zoom out. This is just one of those. So the space stations can be. There it is. There. Look, very sort of cockeyed. There you go. Yeah, so it's rotating around its central axis, but there's also these 2 things are slowly turning around as well. It's like, what? I'm not getting on that space station. They're very odd. And it's like, again, it's a case of we can do this, so we will, rather than thinking it through. So there's a lot of stuff in here. For what, given that this is another one of Dave, I mean, maybe this was a more community thing than it was just David Braben, but there's a lot of stuff in here that makes no scientific sense whatsoever. So, given David Braben's love for all things scientifically accurate, which of course in Elite Dangerous isn't always true either, but there's some really odd choices about how stuff works. So these have got massive counter-rotating arms, and there are some space stations where there are not just 2 of them like this. There are 4, where they kind of interlock and just miss each other. It's really, really kind of quite weird. So you kind of like, would you want to be on that space station? Would that space station really work? I don't think that would work. It's just complicated for the sake of being complicated, really. There's a rather barren-looking planet down there. But anyway, so let's see if our... so I think I'm right in being able to say that I can talk to it. There we go, Berlin. Oh, now the autopilot's flying us away. I don't know why that would be. Anyway, there we go. We're docked. So let's. Hello.
Enjoy your stay, Commander.
Didn't wasn't he at the last station? He's followed us. He's hitched a lift on our ship. That's where this doesn't work, of course, because there's a literally infinite number of space stations in the game. The same characters seem to keep popping up. So maybe they're just clones. Or maybe they just hitch a ride on your ship and jump out. Okay. Hello, my job here today is to welcome you to the starport. Did I just see you back at... I don't know what's supposed to be going on there. Again, not very well thought through, but quite cringy. All right, so Let's go to the bulletin board. Right.
Welcome, Commander. All services are open to you.
Excellent. That wasn't at all spooky. Suddenly really close to the screen. Hello, Commander. Welcome to the station. That's wrong. Anyway, does anybody want some medicines? Narcotics. So apparently not. Apparently not. There's nothing on the bulletin board here. Oh no, there we go. Medical supplies wanted. There we go. No, there is. Medical supplies wanted. There we go. So, oh yes, that's quite good. 1 ton of medicines for 2,000. We've got 2 tons. How about that? We made a fair bit of money there. That was really good. So that was good. Hello.
Make a point. We'll connect you.
Hi. Was that Mark Lamar? Maybe it was. How did your career go? Well, I was a pop star in the 80s and then kind of went on the slide and had to do full motion video for Frontier First Encounters. You know how it is. That was a good run. Now, does that virus? How long does that virus hang around for? Because that's obviously good business as far as we're concerned. I don't know. Anyway, we've got something else on the ship, haven't we? What else have we got? Stock market, some animal meat.
Welcome. You have the goods. We have the credit. Or the other way around, if you prefer.
I am not reading a script. About a month, says Commander. Okay, well that's good news. So maybe we'll just do a little bit of this. Okay, let's see. Now, tell me about the Wiccan Ware race. Is the Saka? Is the Seika? I'm going to call it the Seika. I don't know how you pronounce it, Saka or Seika. I'm going to go for Seika because it sounds better. Seika sounds more like a sort of posh watch. I've got a Seika Mark III. What have you got? A Rolex? Ah, no. Rolex is very much last week. You want a Seika. So okay. Monksoft, it's the 4F Seeker. Just don't use the autopilot. Okay, so the Seeker is fast enough. So we've got time. Okay, because we can go back and do this trading run a bit. Anyway, let's go back to. We've got to go to. Is it where do we actually have to go to? I kind of want to start off by doing a mission because this is the differentiator in this game. I may have missed my chance, I'm afraid. Okay, right. In that case, let's save this game because we've made some money. There we go. First encounter 2. Let's go back to first encounter 1 through the amazing user interface there. And where do I have to go then to pick up this race? So it was in Frontier News. There we go. Okay, so the spectacular Wiccan Ware race is on again. Anyone close enough to the picturesque city of Old Curie on the planet Hope in the system of Gateway to get there by midnight on the 1st of Jan can pick the latest release. So we've got to get there today, literally. So okay, this is the thing. An awful lot of people missed these newspapers because they either didn't read the instruction manual. They never bothered looking at them, thinking this game was the same as the previous one. But you need to. So basically, the first commander to arrive in the starport of Gandhi on Wicca's world will win their millionth share of the first day's profits, which doesn't sound like much, but it's probably worth it to us. It makes this race worth winning. So we've got to get to Old Curie, which I think somebody said earlier in the chat is on the same planet. So that the major starport's called Old Curie. Now we're on Old Black Elk, so we've got to fly up and fly down. So let's see if we can do this mission. Ding bong ding. Oh, there we go. So I don't know on what side of the planet we can. Probably just let the autopilot handle this bit because. So it's actually a sort of space. Now I don't know if there's any So you can do it and then do the Sohalian run. Okay, so that's worth knowing. So let's go up into space a little bit. Okay, so we've got to get there before midnight. Okay, so this first race happens in the first day. So let's go to the orrery. We zoom in on. There it is. So there's Old Curie and Old Blackie. So it's not actually all that far away, but it's not in the same starport as we went to. It's actually kind of over there. So we just taken off the one that's directly below us, and it's sort of over the hill over there somewhere. So we can probably get the autopilot to sort that out for us. There it goes. Hopefully, you're going to die soon. What does that mean? Oh yeah, I'm going to die soon. Like the altitude's coming down. that's a little bit passive aggressive, isn't it? So the autopilot can't actually cope with the ground, is what we're saying here. Yes. Okay. Boom. Okay. Lesson learned. Not that I really expected the autopilot to be able to cope with the ground, but you know.
Enjoy your stay, Commander.
I will. So, as per usual, autopilot not very trustworthy. So anyway, let's fly over in that direction because I know it's over the hills and far away. But let's try that again. There we go. There's Old Curie. So there's the sea, and that's where we need to go. I thought I was high enough up that the autopilot. Right. So there's the base, which of course is under the surface of the planet, which just sort of makes sense. It's 2,000 kilometers away from where we are. So let's just, if we fly up high enough, then surely there's the base there. So now the autopilot should be able to take us there, he says, hopefully. There we go. Right, so if I just full-time accelerate, yes, there we go. That's the way to do it. Okay. So yeah, so the AI in the Elite universe hasn't improved in the last 50 years. Nice of the autopilot to give you a good bite. I think that's quite good. So rather than, I mean, presumably if the autopilot can detect you're going to die soon, wouldn't ethical computer code be doing something about that? It's like, I've screwed up. You're going to die soon. Sorry about that, buddy. But you're the autopilot. Can't you detect? Can't you do something to avoid such a situation? Very stupid indeed. That's why AI is bad. Not because it was evil or intrinsically, bad or anything. It's just it couldn't fly for toffee. Anyway, so let's land here. Right, there we go. So we are down. It's 9 minutes past 12. And presumably then we have some sort of billet.
Not you again. Look, we're still dealing with the lawsuits from the last time you came.
I haven't been here before. Who are you talking about? Yes, it should be Marvin's voice. You're about to die soon. Thought you'd like to know. Right, let's get the bulletin board. Okay, so
Connection coming up.
it's Mark Lamar.
Choose something.
You're right.
What are you waiting for? There are people waiting to use this link, you know.
It's very passive aggressive, this game. Ah dear, right. You can see why it was ridiculed there, can't you? You really can. Ah dear, that was funny. Choose something. Yes, it's a bit of the rice, maybe. Ah dear, right. So we can buy subscriptions. So we occasionally will have to do that because we'll run out of copies. But somewhere in here should be. There we are. Wicca Rare. So here's the first mission. Okay, this is the bit that makes the game different from Frontier Elite 2, really. Wicca Rare race. The race is on. Be the first to get the dream to Gandhi to make them all come true. Contact here to collect your copy. So we pick up, I'm guessing, your cargo is Life on the Edge and your destination is the Gandhi planet on Wicca's world, Alioth 0.4. Get flying commander. Okay, so
Hi. Pick a point and we'll connect you.
we'll do so. So presumably we now have something in the. There we go. Contract deliver. So it's the same. It's kind of a delivery contract, really, code-wise. Okay, we've got to get there as quickly as possible. So I think I'm right in thinking we can't get to Alioth in one bound, can we? No, we can't. So we're going to have to. Where do we go in between? Does anyone have any suggestions? That's out of range. What's a good? It's 2 jumps, but what's the intermediate jump? That one. I suppose I should save here. Let's do a save while we're thinking about it. There we go. Let's call that Wiccan 2. So to the northwest, or Vequez or Sohalia again. So we could do that Sohalia run at the same time. Is that true? Oh, that we could. Ooh, yeah. Okay, there we go. So it's 3D. So it's really hard to manoeuvre. It doesn't want to turn that way. But that one, actually, yeah, you're right. Sohalia is kind of en route. So let's do the medical thing at the same time, because now we know about it. So shipyard should have done this first.
Take a look around.
Yeah, go away. We need all that to get us going. Let's take the medicines as well in that case,
Welcome, Commander.
and some animal meat just because. There we go. Right, we're ready to go. So save again. Right, let's launch. See how quickly we can do this. Launch request. Boom. Engines on. Ugh. Oh, I'm looking backwards. That's never take off flying backwards. That's a bad thing. Full thrust. There we go. Okay, so that's a slightly different base. Not much different really, but no, it's the same one, isn't it? Oh, undercarriage. Never forget the undercarriage. Right, hyperspace to Sohalia. You lose the race by doing something in between. Okay, so we've got to go there. In that case, I need 2 tons of fuel, don't I? Okay, so let's load back to Wiccan 2. Okay, no, that's good. That's good call.
Come in.
So we actually need to buy more hydrogen fuel so we can do a double jump. Let's just buy an extra one just in case. Right, let's try that then. Launch request. Good tips. Full power. Let's get that over. We're going to Sohalia, we said, didn't we? Sohalia, yeah. There we go, hyperspace. So that's just a bit odd. Now we should hopefully be able to get to Alioth. Okay, yeah, we can. Hyperspace ho. Oh, undercarriage. Put that up. Right, now we've got to where we've got to get to. It's Drew paying attention. Deliver life on the edge to Gandhi on Wicca's world. Okay, so where is Wicca's world? Where's the undercarriage? Oh, I've already done that. Where's Wicca's world? Which one's Wicca's world? Oh, must be one of these. Turner's world, Argent's claim, Wicca's world. Okay, so it's the 3rd planet of Alioth 4. There's Alioth 4. There's Wicca's world. And we need to head to Gandhi. Was it Gandhi? Is that a port? Yes, it is. Okay, so it's there. Right, now, the trick here is I'm going to start the autopilot at the beginning. I don't know why the undercarriage is still giving us a warning. Is that up or is that down? No, see? Stupid thing. The carriage is up. So I'm just going to get the autopilot to orientate ourselves. Hopefully. Apart from it's now flying in total. Is it flying in the right direction? Yeah, it is. Okay, so there's 28 AU. Now, the trick here is to save some speed to get there faster. You can't just use the autopilot because the autopilot won't thrust up at the right speed. So I think what I'm going to have to do is switch the autopilot off now and then go to full throttle basically as fast as possible until I get to about 14 AUs and then switch the engines back off again, if that makes sense. So that's what I'm going to try. Now the ship's oriented in the right direction. Oh, the autopilot is good enough for this mission. Okay, so maybe in that case it's all right. In fact, let's try it. Okay, we'll trust you, Stephen. We'll trust you. So the autopilot's going to take us there, and we'll see if we win or not. Okay, let's go. So is the autopilot good enough? Let's find out. I could save a bit of time by not using the autopilot, but it becomes a bit fiddly. So we've got to get it there. So are we going to be the first with the Jjagged Banner? Because it's a relatively small and quick ship, so fingers crossed it should work. So if you click on the luggage tag, you get a list of destinations. Oh, that's there. Oh, I see that there on the screen. Okay. Sometimes it depends where you jump into the system. Let's see if we're successful this time. Oop. What was that? Anyway, we're coming down. Atmospheric planet. Okay, down we go. Oh, there we go. We have won. Congratulations, Commander. In the way, you are unable to read this message because it disappears off the screen too quickly. There we are. It's really hard to see. Congratulations, Commander. You are the... It's this UI. It's just trolling me. Stop disappearing. You are the decade's fastest Wiccan racer. The 1,100 prize is yours too. Spend as you wish. Take it easy. There we go. Wow. Okay, so that's like a scrolling thing. Ah, so we can scroll back for all our old messages. That's actually quite good. Okay, so that got us 1,000. So there you go. There's the first mission, my friend. You may be the fastest racer, but you need 2 slay. You read 2 slay, yes. So that's 1,000 credits is a bit naff, isn't it? That's apparently 1% of the first day's taken. A millionth of the first day's taken, wasn't it, or something like that? So now I think I'm right in saying now that if we go and read the newspaper, is it Frontier News? No, it hasn't updated yet. So I don't know. So anyway, so the race has happened now. So how do we? When does the it's the next month. Okay, so just to show you that, it's, you know, what date is it? It's the 16th of January. So if we go up into space now and just sit there waiting. Hello, it's him again.
Take your time looking round.
I will. So let's go up into space because then the time can go past a little bit quicker. There we go. There we go. Okay, so that's just time is now passing. Slowly and surely. We'll get a few days. So there'll be a new newspaper before too long. Interesting, this planet appears, based on that, to be tidally locked. It's not actually rotating, at least not relative to us anyway, which is interesting. There's a space station going around. You can sort of see that happening every so often. Not a fan of the serif fonts on the starports. It's space. Yeah, it's very hard to read, isn't it? Right, so how are we doing for time? 21st of January. Random exploding things. I don't know what that was. Does anybody know? Is something going bang every so often? I'm not sure what that was. The space station's orbiting every day or so. Right, so I just want to get to the end and hope you got enough fuel. We're just sitting here not flying, so I think we're okay. Yeah, we're not actually using any thrust. So either we're in a geostationary orbit, which we're not, obviously, because the stars in the background aren't moving, or it's rotating so fast you can't see it. Is it? No, because if I slow it down, it's not rotating at all. I don't think, anyway. And let's get to the end of the month. Was it the internal fuel tank refilling? Maybe it was. Does the ship consume energy just sort of sitting there? Maybe it is. We've got a few more days. Then we'll go down and we can read the new. There wasn't this. Is we can read the newspaper about what we've just done. I think that's how it works. Do internal. I think refueling internal tanks with an explosion is sounds like it might be. There we go. So now we get a message. Okay, the new issue of Universal Scientist is now available. We actually want Frontier News, so I don't know if we need to have a notification for, or is that all of the newspapers? I don't know. We'll find out when we get down there. Stephen Usher says yes, but I'm not quite sure what he was answering for. Right, so it's almost Feb. So let's go down. There we go. Feb will do. Right, so that's autopilot. Let's go down there. Right, there we go. And New Chernobyl. That's interesting name for a spaceport. New Chernobyl. What happened to the old Chernobyl? Ah, well. Who would name a place New Chernobyl? Weird. Right, so I think now if we go to the newspapers, if we go to the Frontier News, yes, there's now 10 issues remaining, and you have to buy newspaper subscriptions. So you get 11 newspaper subscriptions to start with, and then as they go down, you have to buy new ones. Okay, so if you want to keep up with the story, you actually have to pay to do so. So there we go. Actually, you can get your name in the press. So here we go. This is quite cool. Commander Jameson, which is us because we haven't changed our default name, flying a Seika 3 fighter with registration TY198, which obviously is just inserted by the game from whatever you're doing at the time, was the resounding winner by several minutes of last month's Wicca race. The winner is now 1,100 credits better off by courtesy of Jjagged Banner and is likely to be favourably received by courier agencies and other organisations requiring fast and reliable transport for work in the near future. This race had fewer fatalities of the races in 3242 or 3235, both of which saw 15 ships destroyed in the vicinity of Alioth alone. The degree of secrecy around the current race appears to have kept away the lunatic element and those whose sole intent is to kill anyone in their path. Yes, it is a bit. Commander username was flying a current ship fighter with registration reg, but that is useful because that's given us some rep for the courier missions. So again, it's pushing you further on into the missions, which I think is quite good. There we go. Other news this month surrounds the sudden outbreak of Sohalian fever on all 3 inhabited systems. Okay, so that gives us a clue again that we should be taking medicines to Sohalia, which is quite good. Okay. The nice thing about this is, and then you can see there's the previous entry, so you can now read the previous entry, and then the nice thing about this is it feels like you're part of the universe, and this is the thing that many of us, particularly the writers for Elite, were so excited about in the early days of Elite Dangerous. We thought, oh, excellent, we'll have all those newspapers, and players will be able to get registered in them, and then Galnet kind of appeared. Galnet doesn't have this variety. There's 5 different texts. And what's really nice about these sort of things is they've all got their own spin on events. So the Federal Times, there we go. This is the Federal Times spin on it. The decade Wiccan Rare Race has been won in record time by the rank outsider Jameson in a Seika Mark III fighter. Again, you're given the thing on a serious note. Horrifying disease, Sohalian fever struck once again. So, and it's a bit more disparaging. Look, the winner made 1,000 credits, more than enough to pay for the inevitable repairs, and still have enough left over for a couple of added extra upgrades. So it's kind of like, well, it's just a silly little race, really. But yeah, let the Alliance do their thing. That's the federal take on it. I don't know if there's is there a imperial take on it. Okay, so this is the Imperial take on that. Dozens of innocent citizens across the galaxy died last month in that most reprehensible spectacle, a race to take a piece of self-indulgent dreamware to the Alliance Cultural Centre Wicca's world. Reliable Imperial eyewitnesses report that the winner, Commander Jameson, won purely by default on the grounds that the leading ships had all been involved in a savage dogfight, leading to multiple deaths and the loss of several million credits worth of intergalactic shipping. This practice cannot possibly be condoned within a civilized galaxy, and His Excellency Hengist Deval, the righteous ruler, has decreed that any Imperial citizens henceforth taking part shall be subject to court-martial and summary execution should they survive. We have no doubt that all also so so on and so on. But it's good. This is excellent stuff. This really makes the universe of the game feel like you're part of it. So yes, it's a bit kind of tweed by modern standards, and yes, it's a little bit silly, but it's good. It's well written from the perspective, okay, here's an event that's taken place, commander's done something. We are trying hard to point the commander in the direction of Sohalia so he can earn some credits. But you've got 3 different takes on it, okay? This is good stuff. We have no doubt that all loyal citizens will avoid such rank profiteering and will instead devote their time and energies to the delivery of medical supplies to the hapless citizens of Sohalia. It's well known the Alliance is incapable of administering to the needs of its own citizens, and this month's fever epidemic is a case in point. The Empire game, it's bloody stupid alliance, but go and help them anyway, you know. It's good. This is excellent stuff. This is really, really good. Frontier Elite 2 was lacking this, and this is the best bit of First Encounters, in my mind, is that the fact that you can play a part in the story of the universe. So whilst in Elite, the original Elite, you were just a pilot and you had to kind of make up your own story. In Frontier Elite 2, you had missions you could take part on which were, you know, allowed you to do things and have a good time. This is the best bit of Frontier First Encounters, which you can actually take part. It feels like you're part of a living, breathing universe. So, and I know it's just, you know, insert command, insert reg, you know, and it's just a thing, but it's done well. It's done well. This is really, really good. And Elite Dangerous hasn't managed this, in my humble opinion. They haven't, because it's a multiplayer game. Not everyone can be the hero, or even notable. And this is the thing. Elite makes you feel very. You know, you just can't make an impact on the galaxy, whereas in this game you can, because you can win stuff and you can get yourself into the newspapers. And you know, when you fail missions in this game, you also you get disparaging comments as well, which is quite amusing. So there you go. So that's the flavour there. Is there anything else? Frontier News. There we are. Commander Jameson was a resulting winner. What about the Universal Scientist? So anyway, so this gives you other stuff to read. Okay, so Universal Scientist is the sensible newspaper, and this is now telling you about Thargoids. Okay, like Thargoids, truth and fiction. It's now 350 years since the first reports of Thargoids from the settlers of Molotov village on New Africa, and exactly 50 years since the last mothership was destroyed by INRA pilots flying out of Fakasi. So this is all stuff that's like, ooh, what's going on here? In the 300 years of their existence, the Thargoids represent the only universal enemy that humankind has ever encountered. Okay, so there's all sorts of stuff. And again, go to Sohalia. Subtle hints are here again. So, you know, so it's good. It's giving you some background and stuff that other things are happening. So, I think rather good. Other than this guy.
Things may be a bit slow for a while. Just be patient.
All right, dude.
We're open anytime.
He's just creepy. All right, I've got enough hydrogen for you to get to Sohalia. So let's do that. Now we've got more space on board the ship. We should be able to clean up 5 tons of medicines we could take with us. So let's get to Sohalia, cash in on their problem. I mean, take medicines to the wretched citizens of Sohalia. So the game is helping you here. All right, this is what's better than Frontier Elite 2. We only started with 100 credits on Frontier Elite 2. Here we start with 1,000 credits, and then it gives us effectively a free bonus, kind of. It's like a starter mission, isn't it? Another 1,000 credits. That gives us 2,000 credits by the time we get to Alioth, and then we can go back to Sohalia with medicines if we read the news, and increase our money. So in 2 missions jumped. Let's see how much we actually make. Playing the game, being guided by the missions. Because it's noticeably better than Frontier Elite 2 in this regard. This is a sort of balancing pass, I suppose, on the original game, because this is much better. in that sense of here's some cash to get you going, Commander. So we're going to go for 3. Apart from this UI, which is really quite annoying. Bradley's Legacy. And where's the space station? There's Berlin. That was it, wasn't it? So let's go to Berlin. No. Boom. So the instant death is still a thing. Same old brutal stuff. Save your game often. Where do we save? I don't think I saved that bit, did I? Did we just pick up the mission? I think we did. Am I in? Where am I? I'm still in Gateway, so I've got to do that again. Anyway, so anyway, I'll play that off again in a bit, so we can kind of get back to where we were. But there you go. Okay. There is quite a lot of insta-death still, which you don't really. I mean, if that's the first time you've played that, you kind of like, well, what the hell happened? You're hyperspace, you arrive, you press the autopilot, and then said you're under attack. It's like you don't get a chance to even see what happened. Whatever that ship was, it had an orange laser beam, which I think is the 4 megawatt beam laser, isn't it? So, the game is being a bit unfair there for a new pilot. It's just like, why did I die? I didn't even see what happened. Much explained. Did I save? No, I hadn't saved that, so I need to go back and do that again. But there we go. So anyway, my friends. So the plan? Yes, one of the races. That's right. Right, he's dead. Excellent. What I'll do is I'll do that again during the week, just so we've got it, and then go back to Sohalian and do that kind of stuff. And I'll stop there so we can see how well that works. But that's basically the essence of the game. It's so that's a good start. I think, looking at it already, I can see it's better in some ways. It is better in some ways, and that this is the best feature by far. This whole newspaper and missions thing, which is obviously where all the effort was put into it. The rest of it, in some ways, is a backward step. Why the effort was made to change all these ships, maybe that was whole part of it's not an expansion, it's a new game, which is obviously a complete load of twaddle, because it isn't a new game at all. What it is Frontier Elite 2 with the graphics change, some new ship models, a few UI tweaks, a new dashboard, and a story. And it's the story that makes the difference. That's the difference between Frontier First Encounters and Frontier Elite 2, really, is there's a story. Whereas in Frontier Elite 2, it's just you go off and do whatever the hell you like, and that's the game. And that's kind of what Elite Dangerous is, isn't it, as well? It's your personal narrative, as Yamix likes to say. Died twice in the first stream. Drew, it's a good start. Yeah, on average, that's pretty good for me. But yeah, that fluff, that context makes you want to play. Oh, I got into the newspapers. That was so cool. What's next to come into the newspapers? I'm going to keep reading those newspapers. Keeps you playing the game, doesn't it? So I think it's actually it's got its redeeming features, and it'll be nice to sort of see if we can play through a few more of it. So what I'm going to do is, we know about everything else in this game, okay? I might tweak a few of the save. We'll see how we go, but I might tweak some of the save files to make sure we can pick up the missions, because we know about the trading, we know about the ships, we know about the equipment. It's all the same, okay? It's all the same stuff. We've already seen that, but it'd be fun to kind of work through the missions and see how those go, because that's what's different about this game. So that's why Kelvin did personal narrative. I mean, Yamix is like him or loathe him. I must admit, having met him in person, he's actually quite a funny chap in reality. I don't like all of his content, but he does make me laugh, so which can only be a good thing. And there are a few of his catchphrases that do make me laugh, so that's kind of all good. But yeah, so anyway, so we've started. We've made a start. Good points, bad points, but there is personal narrative, which is a good thing. So let's see if we can pursue the personal narrative and see where it goes, because that's the redeeming feature of this thing. And we may discover a few interesting things along the way. You never know. So let's see. But anyway, my friends, I must go now. But I hope you've enjoyed And yeah, we're on our way to becoming the #1 Frontier First Encounters Elite stream on the entire internet streaming platform. Thingamajiggies. So let's see how well we get. I'm looking forward to getting that email from Twitch again. Hopefully, that we're the best of the best of the best of one. See if we can get it. That particular accolade, the top 1% of all Frontier First Encounter streams on the internet. That would be really good. But anyway, for now, thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed today. We'll be back next week with more shenanigans, more missions, and seeing what hilarious insights into the universe our full motion video footage characters could give us. See how we go. But anyway, have yourself a fantastic weekend, Commanders. Be good, and I will see you soon.